10 types of people we should not help. Wisdom for living with modern Stoicism. Have you ever felt drained by helping someone who just doesn't seem to care? It's like offering a lifeline to someone who is content to sink. Stoicism teaches us that while helping others is noble, not everyone is worth our energy. Today, we'll explore 10 types of people you should not help, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back. Make sure to watch until the end, because number 10 might just change the way you see generosity forever. Before we begin, let's consider a story that sheds light on this wisdom. A traveler once encountered a beggar who asked for coins. Moved by his plea, the traveler gave. But day after day, the beggar returned, unchanged, still asking. It became clear that helping him wasn't making a difference. In life, there are those who, like the beggar, don't want to change, and by constantly giving, we enable them to stay stuck. Sometimes, the wisest help is the help you don't give. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into this crucial lesson. 1. The immutable. One of the most challenging types of people we encounter in life is the immutable, the person who resists change no matter how many opportunities they are given. You've probably met someone like this, someone who clings to their comfort zone much like a child holding tightly to their security blanket. Perhaps you've tried to help them, only to realize that they simply don't want your help. Imagine you're on a sinking ship. You call out to your fellow passengers to grab an oar and row to safety. But the immutable insists on staying seated, complaining about the cold water instead of taking action. It's frustrating, isn't it? They refuse to listen, are quick with excuses, and at the end of the day, they'd rather gripe about their circumstances than actually change them. Modern Stoicism, especially when practiced in today's world of constant distractions, teaches us that while it's natural to want to help others, we must be careful not to waste our energy on those who are determined to stay stuck. As Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Their refusal to change is not a reflection of your ability to help, but rather their resistance to growth. You can offer them a lifeline, but if they cling to the idea that they can survive on a sinking ship, that is their choice, not your responsibility. First and foremost, set clear boundaries. Compassion is important, but it can easily turn into exhaustion if we don't protect our own energy. Decide how much time and effort you are willing to invest, but always remember the core of Stoic wisdom. You cannot help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. In many cases, these people may just need someone to listen. Offering your ear can be a gift, but don't fall into the trap of thinking you are responsible for solving their problems. At the end of the day, you are not their savior. Another approach is to encourage self-reflection. Rather than giving advice, ask questions that lead them to reflect on their situation. How do they feel about where they are? What steps do they think they could take? This method allows them to examine their reality from a fresh perspective without feeling like you are imposing change upon them. Sometimes, all a person needs is to see their own situation through a different lens to begin the process of transformation. But even then, some people, like the immutables, simply aren't ready for change. And that's okay. Accepting this can liberate you from the burden of feeling like you must do something about their situation. It's essential to acknowledge that some people prefer to remain in their comfort zone, regardless of how detrimental it is. By understanding this, you relieve yourself of the weight of trying to fix someone else's problems. Stoicism teaches us the vital lesson that we are responsible for our own reactions, not for the actions of others. The immutable may continue steering their sinking ship into the abyss, while you have the choice to either join them in their futile journey or take control of your own life's direction. Sometimes the most loving and supportive thing you can do is to step back. As modern Stoicism advises, knowing when to walk away from a futile situation is a sign of true wisdom and strength. Just like the Stoics teach us to accept what we cannot change, we must learn to let go of those who choose not to change. Carl Jung once said, "Some people prefer the pain they know over the unknown pain of growth." You are not obligated to be part of their journey if they insist on walking a path of self-destruction. By walking away, you're not abandoning them. You're allowing them the freedom to make their own choices and take responsibility for their own lives. In the same way that iron is forged through challenges and setbacks, so too must we strengthen our resolve when faced with people who resist help. The strongest action you can take is to protect your own energy and focus on what is within your control. Remember that not everyone is ready for change, and that's okay. The immutable may continue drifting through life, but it's up to you whether or not you want to be a passenger on their sinking ship. Sometimes, the greatest act of kindness is learning when to let go. As Stoic wisdom reveals, true wisdom lies in understanding when to offer a hand and when to step back and let others learn their own lessons. 2. The manipulators. Have you ever felt like you're surrounded by emotional vampires? Not the ones from movies, but real people who seem to suck the energy right out of you. These are the manipulators. Individuals who exploit your kindness as if it were an all-you-can-eat buffet. If you've ever found yourself drained after trying to help someone, perhaps it's time to reflect on whether you're offering support to the right people. Imagine your relationships as a plant. In healthy relationships, watering that plant is a rewarding and nourishing experience. But when there's a manipulator in your life, it feels more like trying to hydrate a cactus that demands more water than it actually needs, leaving you dry and depleted. These manipulators are skilled at making you feel guilty for not giving them what they want, whether it's your time, energy, or sometimes even money. They sell you the idea that their needs are more important than your well-being. But Stoic principles remind us that your peace of mind is priceless. The truth is, there's nothing more exhausting than realizing that every positive action you take is just another brick in the wall of their selfishness. Eventually, you become their psychologist, their source of energy, and in some cases, even their enabler. But let's be clear, they're not seeking help. They're looking for an excuse to continue making you feel responsible for their problems. So how can you identify these insatiable creatures before they completely take over your life? One major red flag is how they constantly exploit your kindness. If they always seem to be in some sort of crisis and you're always the one solving it, consider this a warning. Life can be complicated, sure, but when someone's issues seem to replay like a broken record without any effort to change, you might be dealing with a manipulator. Stay tuned as we explore more types of people you should avoid helping, because understanding who deserves your energy and who doesn't is one of the greatest wisdoms of modern Stoicism. A never-ending soap opera, it's time to question their intentions. Another sign to watch for is their use of guilt as a tool. Manipulators are experts at turning your kindness into an obligation. If you begin to feel guilty for not helping, that's a clear indicator that something is wrong. Your actions should be motivated by genuine care, not guilt. Their stories are often overly dramatic and laden with emotion, and if you find yourself trapped in their never-ending monologue of self-pity, it might be time to change the channel. It's easy to feel stuck in their narrative, but remember, you have the power to step away. Life is not meant to be a series of sacrifices where your well-being becomes an afterthought. Modern Stoicism teaches balance, knowing when to extend a hand and when to hold back. Sometimes, offering a firm no is a greater act of kindness than giving a reluctant yes that drains your energy. You are not responsible for fixing everyone's problems, nor are you obligated to be someone's emotional crutch. As Epictetus wisely said, "He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at." This wisdom applies here. Learning to recognize manipulation allows you to laugh at how seriously manipulators take themselves, freeing you from their draining influence. At the end of the day, the key is recognizing your own value. You're not here to be everyone's savior. You're here to live your life as fully as possible. Sometimes helping someone is an act of love, but other times it's just a way to continue a cycle of abuse. So before you extend a helping hand, ask yourself, am I truly helping, or am I just allowing myself to be manipulated? Remember, you are the author of your own life. Don't let a manipulator take the pen and write your story for you. Life should be filled with genuine connections that lift you up, not relationships that drain you to the point of exhaustion. To avoid falling into the manipulator's trap, it's crucial to set boundaries. Just as the Stoics teach us, Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Keep this in mind when deciding how much of your time and energy you're willing to give to others. A manipulator thrives on pushing your limits, making you feel that their needs are endless and that you must continuously give. By recognizing this behavior and setting clear limits, you reclaim control over your own well-being. In doing so, you follow the Stoic rules of life, focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. In modern life, we often find ourselves surrounded by people who seem to need more from us than we're capable of giving. While it's natural to want to help, modern Stoicism reminds us that true strength comes from knowing when to step back. As Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Living with integrity, protecting your peace, and ensuring that your acts of kindness are genuine are all ways of practicing courage in today's world. Don't feel obligated to be part of someone else's story if it means sacrificing your own happiness and mental health. Generosity should make you flourish, not wither. By recognizing and avoiding the manipulator, you take a powerful step toward living a life based on Stoic principles, focused, intentional, and peaceful. It's not about cutting off connections, but about ensuring that the connections you maintain are healthy and balanced. Your energy is precious, and it should be reserved for those who respect it. So next time you're faced with a manipulator, pause and ask yourself, am I watering a plant that will grow, or am I just feeding a cactus that will never stop demanding more? The choice is yours, and with the wisdom of Stoic principles guiding you, it's one you can make with confidence and clarity. The victim mentality, the victim, an all too familiar figure, walks among us like a hero, but instead of saving the day, they search for someone to blame for all their misfortunes. It wasn't my fault. Life is unfair. If you listen closely, their excuses are so plentiful that you might think they're auditioning for a role in a soap opera. But what drives this endless need to escape responsibility? The victim doesn't just refuse to take control of their life. They're like a sailor who won't learn to navigate their ship. Instead, they drift along with the currents, constantly pointing to the sharks that surround them, blaming the sea, the storm, and everything else except themselves. It's a game of self-pity where they play the hero, and you, the frustrated spectator, want to shout, "Change the channel!" Think about it. Maybe you've found yourself sitting with a victim, hearing them unload their list of complaints as if it were a new gadget they couldn't wait to show off. They grumble about their job, their friends, and life itself. According to them, nothing is their fault. My boss doesn't appreciate my brilliance. My friends don't support me. The universe is against me. And all the while, you're left wondering, haven't you done anything to improve your situation? This type of person constantly overlooks a fundamental truth. The power of change lies within them. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the great minds of Stoicism, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But the victim seems to have skipped this Stoic lesson entirely, remaining stuck in a cycle of blame and inaction. It's like watching a fish cling to the walls of its tank, unable to see the wide world beyond the glass. Instead of searching for solutions, they choose to swim in their pool of excuses, drowning in self-pity that has long since grown tiresome. So what do we do with the victim? The answer isn't always simple. Compassion might urge us to help those who genuinely need it, but there are people like the victim who are perfectly content in their role as a martyr. The best approach is often to take a step back and ask yourself whether it's worth pouring your time and energy into someone who refuses to change. Life is like a road full of potholes. Helping the victim might be like offering a map to someone who insists that the potholes are everyone else's fault. Sometimes, the most responsible thing we can do is allow them to face their own consequences. Instead of being their rescuer, perhaps we can be a beacon, showing them that real change starts from within. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely observed, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The victim is comfortable in their role, and unless you're prepared to confront their victimhood, you risk getting caught up in their emotional storm. Stoic principles remind us that we are responsible for our own reactions. It's crucial to understand that the victim doesn't need your pity, they need a mirror. It's not about withholding help from those who need it, but rather knowing how to distinguish between people who are ready to take control of their lives and those who prefer to continue pointing fingers. In today's world, it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to help people who aren't willing to help themselves. You might feel obligated to step in, to offer solutions, and to carry their burdens for them. But the truth is, some people don't want solutions. They just want an audience. They thrive on sympathy, not self-improvement. The more you invest in their endless cycle of problems, the more drained you become. This is why setting boundaries is crucial. Just as Marcus Aurelius taught, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your energy is finite, and it should be directed toward growth, not depletion. If someone refuses to take responsibility for their own life, no amount of your effort will change them. Instead, focus on those who value your presence, your support, and your wisdom. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. Are you nurturing meaningful relationships that bring fulfillment, or are you simply pouring into a bottomless pit of complaints and excuses? Remember, your time and energy are valuable. Use them wisely, and let Stoic wisdom guide your path to a life of purpose, clarity, and peace. Drawn to offer advice, lend an ear, or even step in to solve their problems, you may find yourself emotionally drained while the victim continues to swim in their sea of excuses. Sometimes, the greatest act of kindness is stepping back and letting them face the reality they've been avoiding. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you allow them the space to realize that the key to change is in their hands. In modern life, we see this dynamic play out all the time. Whether it's with friends, family members, or coworkers, there are always people who will cling to their victim narrative, finding fault in everything but themselves. While it's tempting to play the role of the helper, it's important to recognize that some people are not ready for change. They're stuck in their story, and no matter how much advice or support you offer, it won't make a difference unless they choose to take responsibility for their lives. This is where Stoicism offers invaluable insight. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." The victim has allowed their thoughts to spiral into negativity, and until they change their mindset, they will remain stuck in their role. As someone who practices Stoic lessons, you understand the value of focusing on what you can control. You cannot change the victim's perspective, but you can control how you respond to their behavior. By setting boundaries and maintaining your emotional distance, you protect your own peace of mind while also offering them the opportunity to take responsibility for their actions. This doesn't mean you're abandoning them. It means you're respecting your own well-being and allowing them the space to grow. After all, Stoicism teaches us that true wisdom comes from within, and sometimes the best way to help someone is by stepping back and letting them find their own path. At the end of the day, remember that your role is not to be the savior of everyone you meet. The victim doesn't need you to fix their life. They need to recognize that they have the power to do it themselves. It's not your job to carry the weight of their problems on your shoulders. As Epictetus said, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. The victim has chosen to view life through the lens of blame and helplessness, but that's their choice, not yours. The best gift you can offer a victim is the truth, the realization that life doesn't just happen to us, we shape it. When they finally understand that, they can step out of their self-imposed role and take control of their life. The narcissist. Have you ever felt like you're stuck on a carousel that never stops spinning? That's what it feels like dealing with a narcissist, someone who demands constant attention but shows little regard for anyone else. The narcissist is a master of self-promotion, constantly seeking validation but rarely interested in solutions or the well-being of those around them. They embody a trait that the Stoics would caution us against: self-centeredness and vanity, which detract from living a life of virtue. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. This is the essence of the narcissist, someone who is trapped in the endless loop of needing to be seen and admired but without any genuine concern for others. Imagine, for a moment, a child at the park, always waving their hands, shouting, "Look at me, look at me," as they juggle balls in the air. This perfectly captures the narcissist's behavior, an adult who, instead of growing out of this need for attention, has perfected it into a way of life. But this isn't just limited to the playground. The narcissist seeks to be the center of attention in every room, every gathering, and every conversation. From social media to family events, they feed on the reactions and admiration of others, as if their very existence depended on it. When you try to help them, offering advice or solutions to the problems they claim to have, their response is often like a cat recoiling from a cucumber, distrustful, dismissive, and uninterested. The harsh truth is, the narcissist isn't looking for solutions. They aren't interested in growing, evolving, or genuinely improving their lives. They want to be the center of every story, even when they are the cause of their own struggles. Helping a narcissist is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, it will never be enough to satisfy them. They crave attention, not resolution. And when you try to give them advice or help, it becomes just another opportunity for them to seek more validation. In the end, all you'll have is a puddle of wasted energy, while they move on to the next source of attention. So, how do you deal with a narcissist? The first step is to set clear boundaries. As modern Stoicism teaches us, you can't control others, but you can control your own reactions. The Stoic principle of focusing on what is within your control is key here. Don't waste your precious time and energy trying to save someone who only wants an audience. Your resources are valuable, and you must protect them from being drained by someone who sees you only as a mirror to reflect their own ego. This doesn't mean being harsh or unkind. It means recognizing that not everyone deserves your time and help, especially when that help is not appreciated or valued. Helping others is a noble act, but it should never come at the expense of your own well-being. Instead of pouring your energy into someone who will never appreciate it, shift your focus to those who genuinely need and value your support. It's like being a gardener. Why spend time watering weeds when you can nourish flowers that will bloom and give back beauty and joy? The narcissist is the weed that will never grow into something meaningful, while the people who truly appreciate you are the flowers that make life worth living. You have the power to choose where your energy goes, and Stoic wisdom teaches us that investing in the right people is a sign of wisdom and strength. In dealing with narcissists, it's essential to understand that they live in a world where attention is their currency, and they are never satisfied with what they have. It's a losing battle to try and help someone who is only interested in being admired. As the Stoics remind us, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be one. Instead of being drawn into their web of self-centeredness, focus on being the best version of yourself and surrounding yourself with those who lift you up, not those who drain you. One of the best strategies is to become mindful of the patterns. The narcissist will often make you feel like they need your help, but in reality, they're only after more attention. When you give them your time, they'll take it, but instead of being grateful, they'll demand even more. Your efforts to guide them will be dismissed because they are not looking for growth. They are looking for an audience. To navigate this, recognize their tactics and protect your peace of mind. Set firm boundaries, limit your emotional investment, and most importantly, redirect your time and energy toward people who appreciate your presence. The wisdom of Stoicism reminds us that true fulfillment comes from engaging with those who reciprocate your kindness and respect your boundaries. You are not obligated to entertain someone else's endless need for validation. Choose wisely where you invest your energy, and remember, the most meaningful relationships are those built on mutual respect and genuine connection. It is important to remember the Stoic lesson of self-respect and the importance of using your time wisely. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your thoughts and energy shape your life, and when you allow someone like a narcissist to dominate your mental space, You're allowing your mind to be colored by their self-absorption. Your energy is better spent on those who appreciate your presence and value your support. It's not about turning your back on people in need. It's about recognizing when your help is being exploited and when it's time to move on. In modern life, dealing with narcissists can be especially challenging as we are surrounded by people who crave validation through social media, work, and social settings. But Stoic principles guide us to remain grounded, to focus on what truly matters, and to avoid being drawn into the vanity and self-obsession that many people exhibit today. Narcissists will always seek attention, but your goal should be to maintain an iron mind, unaffected by their need for validation, and to remain focused on your own growth and the people who genuinely value your support. Life is too short to play a background role in someone else's drama. The narcissist will continue to seek attention from anyone willing to give it, but you have the power to choose where to place your energy. As Stoic teachings remind us, the most valuable resource we have is our time, and it should be spent wisely. Surround yourself with people who bring value to your life, who appreciate your support, and who are willing to grow alongside you. Your time is gold. Invest it in those who will cherish it, not those who waste it. If you're still here, it's clear you're someone who values thoughtful choices. Let me know in the comments by saying, "I walk the path of wisdom." And let's keep learning together. More eye-opening content is just around the corner. People who don't value your time. Time is one of the most valuable resources we have, yet there are people who waste it without a second thought, much like a child spilling juice on a carpet with careless indifference. These are the time wasters. Individuals who show no regard for your schedule, your needs, or your personal boundaries. Picture your time as a limited lottery ticket, precious and irreplaceable. Now imagine these time wasters always showing up when you're ready to enjoy a quiet afternoon, as if your day is a buffet where they can take whatever they want without even asking. Their way of operating is simple. They don't respect your limits, and they certainly don't respect your need for personal space or time to recharge. We all know the feeling. You might have an important meeting, a deadline looming, or even the simple desire to relax, but these people always seem to believe that their demands are more urgent than anything you have planned. It's as if they think you're a clock that runs 24 hours a day, always available for their needs, without considering that you might also need a break. Think about how often you've had to drop everything because someone needed just a minute of your time that somehow stretched into an hour. Dealing with a time waster is like trying to solve a 1,000-piece puzzle in the dark, frustrating and almost impossible. But there's hope, and modern Stoicism offers us practical solutions for these situations. The first thing you need to do is protect your time by setting clear boundaries. Imagine your time as a garden, where every time waster is like a weed trying to choke your flowers. If you don't establish boundaries, they'll continue to invade your space. Make it known when you're available and when you're not, and don't be afraid to say no. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And in this case, being a good person means being wise enough to protect your time, communicate your schedule, and stick to it. Your life is not about meeting other people's expectations. It's about living by your own priorities. Prioritizing your agenda is essential. Make a list of what truly matters to you, and remind yourself that your time is a resource that deserves respect. When a time waster comes along and tries to take it, remember that the most powerful conversation is sometimes the one you don't have. You don't owe everyone your time, and you certainly don't have to justify why you're choosing to spend it on something that matters to you. When you prioritize your goals and protect your schedule, you take back control of your life. This doesn't mean shutting people out, but it does mean you're no longer allowing your time to be stolen by those who don't respect it. Consider how modern Stoicism can guide you in these moments. A Stoic wouldn't waste time trying to explain or justify their decisions to someone who doesn't value their time. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When a time waster tries to disrupt your day, your reaction should be calm and composed, with a focus on protecting your peace and your time. Your time is not an endless resource, and it is certainly not something to be squandered on people who don't appreciate its value. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel like we have to be available all the time, whether it's answering emails, attending meetings, or even dealing with people who constantly interrupt our flow. But here's the truth. You are in control of how you spend your time, not the people around you. The Stoic rules remind us to focus on what we can control, and our time is one of the few things in life that we have complete authority over. To navigate these situations, it's important to recognize that not everyone values time the way you do. That's where the Stoic principles come into play, focusing on what you can control, which is how you set your boundaries and manage your time. Time wasters may not see the value in it, but you do, and that's what matters. When someone comes to you with demands that you know will disrupt your plans, you don't have to feel guilty about saying no. A simple no can save you hours of frustration and protect your mental well-being. Like a good gardener, you should choose to water the flowers that grow and bring value to your life, not the weeds that take over your garden and offer nothing in return. In modern life, this challenge is more relevant than ever. With the constant distractions of technology, social obligations, and the endless demands on our attention, we need to be vigilant about where our time goes. But as Stoic wisdom reveals, the power lies in our hands. You can choose how to spend your time, and by setting clear boundaries with those who waste it, you reclaim the hours, minutes, and moments that are rightfully yours. At the end of the day, the key lesson here is simple. Your time is your life, and how you spend it defines who you are. The time wasters in your life are like thieves trying to take something that is precious to you, and it's up to you to protect it. As Seneca, another great Stoic, once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Don't let others rob you of the most valuable resource you have, your time. Learn to recognize the people who don't value it, and have the courage to set boundaries. Prioritize your own needs, and remember that your time is yours to manage. In doing so, you'll live more fully, with greater peace, and with a clear sense of purpose. So, what are you waiting for? It's time to take control of your time and make sure that you are the one deciding how it's spent, not the time wasters who don't deserve it. The deaf one. Have you ever encountered someone who seems to listen, nodding along to every piece of advice you offer, only to ignore it completely? That person is the deaf one. They give you the impression that they're absorbing your wisdom like a sponge, yet when it's time for action, they remain stagnant, stuck in their own patterns. It's like talking to a wall. No matter how profound your words, they bounce back without making an impact. Helping someone like this becomes a frustrating and exhausting cycle, draining your energy with no result. It's like trying to inflate a balloon with a hole in it. They may acknowledge your advice, but their lack of application turns your efforts into wasted breath. Helping someone like this can leave you questioning why you even try. Why waste your energy on someone who clearly has no intention of moving forward? Stoic principles teach us the value of conserving our energy and focusing on what we can control, our own actions, thoughts, and responses. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." You can offer all the advice in the world, but it's up to the individual to take action. If they aren't willing to change, why should you keep repeating yourself? It becomes a situation where you're pouring yourself into someone who isn't ready or willing to grow. As the Stoics remind us, our efforts are best spent where they can make a difference. The deaf one clings to their routine of inaction, holding on to excuses and a passive role in their own life, ignoring any guidance that could help them move forward. Have you ever found yourself asking, "Why am I even bothering?" It's a valid question, especially when your advice falls on deaf ears. Your words, which could serve as a beacon of light for someone truly seeking change, are lost in the abyss when directed at someone unwilling to listen. It's like planting seeds in barren soil expecting a garden to flourish. Stoicism teaches us that we shouldn't waste our efforts on those who aren't receptive to growth or self-improvement. One strategy to handle the deaf one is to set boundaries. Think of it like trying to fill a broken container. No matter how much you pour in, it will never be full. Instead of depleting your patience and energy, it's far better to focus on those who are ready to listen, grow, and act on your advice. After all, isn't it more fulfilling to help someone who truly appreciates your input and makes progress because of it? The Stoics remind us to recognize where our efforts are best placed. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Instead of becoming frustrated by those who refuse to take your advice, choose to focus on where your guidance will be valued. In this context, it's helpful to think of yourself as a gardener. When you plant a seed in fertile soil, it has the potential to grow and bear fruit. But if you plant in barren ground, no matter how much water and care you provide, nothing will bloom. It's time to let the deaf one face the consequences of their inaction. Life has a way of teaching people the lessons they most need to learn, often in ways that words cannot. Sometimes, stepping back and allowing someone to experience the results of their choices is the most valuable thing you can do for them. Your role isn't to keep repeating the same advice like a parrot, hoping that this time it will be heard. Your energy is precious, and it should be spent on those who genuinely want to move forward. Stoic lessons remind us that real personal growth doesn't come from merely listening to advice. It comes from taking action and applying discipline in our lives. As Seneca taught, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Helping someone who doesn't act on your advice is, in a sense, wasting both your time and theirs. It's essential to recognize when your words are falling on deaf ears and to have the wisdom to step away when needed. In modern life, we often encounter people who nod in agreement, who seem receptive to what we have to say, yet they never make the effort to apply it. Maybe it's a colleague who always asks for advice but continues to make the same mistakes, or a friend who seeks guidance yet never changes their behavior. This can leave us feeling frustrated and drained, wondering why we continue to offer help that isn't being used. Stoicism, with its focus on action and self-discipline, teaches us that our energy is finite and we must use it wisely. The true Stoic understands that our efforts are best placed on those who are ready and willing to make progress. By recognizing the deaf one for what they are, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of giving advice that is never acted upon, and reclaim your energy for those who genuinely seek growth. The dramatic person, the one who seems to have stepped straight out of a Shakespearean tragedy, is someone many of us have encountered. Every minor inconvenience becomes a catastrophe. Every bad day turns into a personal apocalypse. It's as if their life is a stage, and they are performing for an audience, with you sitting front row, drawn into their endless drama. You might feel a pull to help these individuals, thinking they need your guidance to navigate their self-imposed chaos. But here's the truth. Sometimes, the best way to help someone like this is not to get involved at all in their perpetual theater of misery. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When it comes to the dramatic person, this lesson is invaluable. We all know the person who seems to turn every day into an emotional roller coaster, constantly seeking to pull others into their storm. It's like you're in a movie theater, ready to watch a normal film, and suddenly, the lights dim and you hear the dramatic wailing of your friend in the lead role, turning even the simplest issues into the climax of a grand tragedy. They speak in ways designed to make you feel guilty, to worry for them, or even to make you believe that without your constant attention, their world might just fall apart. But here's the problem. No matter what you do, every attempt to help them feels like throwing fuel on the fire. Every piece of advice you offer is ignored. Every word of comfort is met with more lamenting. It seems absurd, but this is the reality of helping a dramatic person. The Stoics often talk about the importance of remaining indifferent to things we cannot control. When dealing with a dramatic person, this principle becomes critical. Your involvement will not solve their problems, nor will it stop their endless cycle of emotional turmoil. Instead, the best course of action is to step back, protect your peace, and focus on the things within your control. your own mental clarity and well-being. Recognizing the nature of a dramatic person allows you to disengage from their constant crises and redirect your energy toward meaningful pursuits. Life is too short to be caught up in someone else's unending drama. By choosing where to invest your emotional energy, you ensure that your time is spent on what truly matters: growth, peace, and genuine connections with those who bring value to your life. In truth, and this wisdom applies perfectly here. The dramatic person lives in a world of emotional chaos, one that they create and fuel. If you're not careful, you'll get pulled into their vortex of negativity. The first step in dealing with them is to set clear boundaries. Think of yourself as a photographer capturing beautiful landscapes. If you spend all your time in the house of the dramatic person, you'll end up with a gallery full of dark clouds and stormy skies. Setting limits doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're protecting your own peace of mind and choosing not to let their drama overshadow your life. Modern Stoicism teaches us the value of these boundaries, reminding us that while we can be compassionate, we are not obligated to be part of someone else's emotional spectacle. Compassion from a distance is another important strategy. You can empathize with their struggles without becoming entangled in their emotional turmoil. Visualize yourself surrounded by an invisible shield, one that lets you see their pain but prevents you from being consumed by it. Like a superhero, you can show kindness without allowing their negativity to become your own burden. This is one of the core principles of modern Stoicism, practicing compassion without sacrificing your inner peace. It's about being a supportive figure, not a participant in their drama. Sometimes what the dramatic person needs isn't a savior but a mirror. Instead of offering solutions, which they will likely ignore, ask questions that encourage them to reflect on their situation. A simple, "Do you really think everything is as bad as it seems?" can be a powerful tool. This doesn't mean you're on a rescue mission. It's simply a gentle nudge towards self-awareness. Stoic teachings remind us that true growth comes from within, and sometimes all someone needs is the space to see their situation more clearly. However, don't expect immediate results. The dramatic person is deeply invested in their role, and while a moment of reflection may help, they're not likely to abandon their ways overnight. Another often overlooked strategy is humor. The Stoics understood the absurdity of life and encouraged a sense of humor to cope with its challenges. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." When faced with someone's dramatic outbursts, a light-hearted, well-timed joke can bring a sense of perspective. For example, if they're recounting the latest catastrophe in their life, you might respond with a chuckle and say, "Wow, sounds like the apocalypse was rough this time." This subtle approach can help them see the exaggeration in their reactions, easing the emotional tension and possibly even helping them laugh at themselves. Humor won't solve their underlying issues, but it can momentarily break the cycle of their endless tragedy and lighten the mood. Helping a dramatic person can feel like trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. No matter how much effort you put in, the waves keep coming. It's important to accept that some people thrive in their world of emotional extremes, and there's little you can do to pull them out of it. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to fix them, save your energy for those who value your support and are ready to make changes in their lives. Modern Stoicism encourages us to focus our efforts where they'll have the most impact, rather than pouring ourselves into futile situations. The dramatic person, despite their constant cries for attention, often prefers the safety of their emotional storms. In these cases, the best thing you can do is step back and let them navigate their own turbulent seas. Ultimately, life is too short to be consumed by someone else's theatrics. As Stoic principles teach us, we must protect our peace, our time, and our emotional energy. You have your own path to walk. And while it's important to be compassionate and supportive, you must also recognize when helping someone means sacrificing your own well-being. Like Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you surround yourself with constant negativity, it will inevitably affect your own outlook on life. Instead, seek out those who uplift you, who face life's challenges with resilience and grace, and who are willing to celebrate even the small joys amidst life's struggles. So when you find yourself facing the dramatic person, Remember this: their story isn't yours to fix. You are not responsible for keeping their emotional theater running. Your life is your own, and it's filled with its own beauty, challenges, and moments worth celebrating. The world is full of people who choose to see life as an adventure rather than a tragedy, and those are the ones you should seek out. After all, life is far too precious to spend caught up in someone else's drama. The ungrateful. If you've ever extended a helping hand only to receive a cold, indifferent thanks in return, then you understand what it's like to deal with the ungrateful. The ungrateful person is the type of individual who strolls through life, acting as though everyone's kindness and efforts are things they're entitled to. It's as if they have a coupon for endless care and attention, redeemable anywhere, but never giving anything back in return. These people are emotional black holes, taking in everything you offer but never filling the void within themselves. They leave you drained and wondering why you even bothered to help in the first place. In Stoicism, gratitude is considered a core virtue. It grounds us, keeps our emotions balanced, and helps us appreciate the good in life. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." So why waste your energy on people who seem to have forgotten the importance of this essential lesson? Gratitude is not just about saying thank you, but about recognizing and valuing the efforts of others. The ungrateful person misses this point entirely, expecting more and appreciating less. Let's put it in more relatable terms. Imagine you're on a boat and you see someone struggling in the water. You dive in, risking your own safety, and pull them aboard. The grateful person looks at you with genuine appreciation and says, "Thank you so much. I don't know what I would have done without you." But the ungrateful person? They glare at you and complain, "You took too long, I could have drowned." They completely disregard the fact that you saved them, focusing instead on how they believe you didn't do enough or didn't act quickly enough. The truth is, not everyone who appears to be in trouble truly wants help. Some just want to complain about how poorly everyone else is handling their rescue. Ungrateful people are like plants that never bloom. No matter how much care you give them, they take all your effort and give nothing back. While it's important to recognize that not everyone has been raised with the same understanding of gratitude, it doesn't mean you should continue to sacrifice your emotional well-being on the altar of their indifference. Stoic principles remind us that our energy is best spent on those who appreciate it, instead of investing in people who expect and demand kindness without reciprocating. Focus on those who recognize and value what you offer. Gratitude isn't just a virtue, it's a sign of emotional intelligence and self-awareness. The people who truly appreciate your kindness will not only say thank you, but will also show it in their actions. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do is recognize the ungrateful for what they are and set boundaries accordingly. Life is too short to waste your time and effort on those who take without giving. The Stoics remind us that our time and energy should be spent wisely, and that means prioritizing relationships built on mutual respect, appreciation, and gratitude. We cannot control others, only how we respond to them. First, establish clear boundaries. If you notice someone is consistently taking advantage of your kindness without any acknowledgement or appreciation, don't hesitate to put up some barriers. Think of it as telling a plant that it can't grow in the shade forever. It needs light, and you're not an endless source of it. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop being generous. It means you protect your energy from being wasted on those who don't value it. In modern Stoicism, this is a crucial part of maintaining your emotional balance. It's like saving your finest ingredients for a special meal rather than wasting them on a microwaved frozen pizza. Stoic principles teach us to be mindful of where we invest our time and effort because, just like our energy, these resources are finite. Helping the ungrateful drains you, while helping the appreciative lifts you up and reinforces the cycle of kindness. One often overlooked but essential practice is cultivating gratitude within yourself. When you focus too much on helping others, especially those who don't appreciate it, you can forget to nourish your own sense of gratitude. Take time to appreciate the things you have, the people who do value you, and even the small moments of peace you create in your life. As the Stoics remind us, he who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. By focusing on your own gratitude, you ensure that your emotional reserves stay full, even when dealing with those who drain you. It's also important to accept that some people won't change, no matter how much you give. Some individuals will never learn the value of gratitude. Accepting this truth can free you from the emotional burden of waiting for a thank you that may never come. Think of the ungrateful person as a broken clock. No matter how many times you try to fix it, it will still show the wrong time. And that's okay. You're not responsible for their growth, only for how much time and energy you choose to invest in them. Acceptance is a key component of Stoic wisdom, allowing you to move on from situations and people that don't contribute to your well-being. So, the next time you encounter an ungrateful person, remember that you don't have to be the hero in their story. Life is too short to waste on people who don't appreciate your efforts. Modern Stoicism encourages us to seek out relationships and connections that are mutually beneficial. Where gratitude flows naturally, you deserve to spend your time with people who value your contributions, not those who expect them as a given and never say a word of thanks in return. At the end of the day, what truly matters is your emotional balance. Surround yourself with people who understand the value of what you bring to the table, and be selective with your generosity. Like the Stoics advised, it's better to offer your time and energy to those who lift you up rather than to those who pull you down. After all, as the saying goes, gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. In modern life, where our time and energy are constantly demanded, it's more important than ever to ensure that we spend them wisely. The ungrateful will always be there, ready to take whatever they can without giving anything in return. But you have the power to choose where to direct your efforts. By following Stoic principles, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who appreciate you, and in turn, you'll cultivate stronger, more fulfilling relationships. The dependent, this type of person goes through life as if they're carrying a backpack full of problems. And worse, they expect you to be the one to take that load off their shoulders. It's more common than you think. While it may seem like an exaggeration, the emotional and mental toll they take on those around them is very real. The dependent thrives on others making decisions for them, relying heavily on others to navigate even the smallest issues in life. You're at a lively party, music playing, laughter echoing in the room, everyone enjoying themselves. Then you find yourself cornered by the dependent. Suddenly, a lighthearted conversation about the weather turns into a heavy discussion about their life, their endless list of problems, and their complete inability to make decisions. They tell you how their dog ran away, how they couldn't decide what to have for dinner, and how they're utterly overwhelmed by every small aspect of their day. Before you know it, the weight of their struggles is being shifted onto your shoulders, and they expect you not just to listen, but to solve their issues for them. At this point, it's clear they're not just looking for sympathy, they're looking for someone to take control of their life for them. This is where Stoic lessons become essential. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we respond to situations. So, when you find yourself dealing with the dependent, remember, you are not their savior, and you are not responsible for fixing their life. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This quote is a powerful reminder that you are in control of your reactions and where you place your emotional energy. The first challenge in dealing with a dependent person is to set clear boundaries. Think of it like being on a boat. If someone starts drilling holes in the bottom, you're not going to sit there and wait for both of you to sink. You need to step up and let them know that there are times when you simply won't be available to solve their problems. Be direct but kind. Honesty is a tool that benefits both you and the dependent person, as it helps them realize that they cannot rely on others for everything. The second approach is to encourage independence. Instead of being their life raft, become their coach. Ask them to think for themselves. A simple question like, "What would you do if you had no one to rely on?" can prompt them to reflect on their own capabilities. Often, a small push in the right direction is all they need to begin thinking about their problems differently. It forces them to consider solutions rather than waiting for others to fix things. Stoic rules emphasize self-reliance and the importance of personal responsibility. By encouraging them to think independently, you're helping them take their first steps toward autonomy. Practicing emotional detachment is also key. If you start to feel like their problems are becoming your problems, step back. Remind yourself that you're not a container for their emotions. Practicing emotional detachment is like learning to dance without following their sad tune. Just because they're stuck in a cycle of negativity doesn't mean you have to be. Maintain a healthy emotional distance. This doesn't mean you stop caring, but it does mean you protect your own well-being. As the Stoics teach, preserving your peace is vital, and sometimes that means not getting swept up in the emotions of others. Being the voice of reason can also be helpful. The dependent often sees their problems as insurmountable, but by calmly offering perspective, you can help them see that their obstacles are not as overwhelming as they seem. Encourage them to take small steps towards solving their own issues, reminding them that they have the ability to navigate life on their own. At the end of the day, you are not responsible for carrying someone else's burdens. While compassion is important, so is protecting your own well-being. The Stoics remind us that true wisdom lies in knowing where to invest our time and energy. Not everyone is willing to change, and that's okay. The key is recognizing when to step back and let them find their own way. Surround yourself with people who take responsibility for their lives, and you'll find your own energy and peace preserved. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them." In other words, focus on what truly matters and let go of what you cannot control. Insurmountable mountains can feel overwhelming, but you can offer a fresh perspective. Instead of diving into their world of stress and indecision, gently guide them to look at their situation from a different angle. You're not obligated to carry someone else's load. Your energy is valuable, and it's up to you to protect it. By learning to say no, setting firm boundaries, and encouraging others to take control of their own lives, you not only protect your peace, but also teach others to take responsibility for their own choices. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." You are in control of how much emotional labor you're willing to take on, and just because someone else is drowning in their issues doesn't mean you have to throw yourself into their storm. It's better to surround yourself with people who seek independence and personal growth rather than those who rely on you to carry them through life. By establishing boundaries and encouraging self-reliance, you'll find that your relationships become more balanced and fulfilling. Life is about balance, and while it's kind to help others, not all burdens are meant to be carried by you. Some people will never take the steps toward independence if they're always leaning on you. The more you carry for them, the less they will learn to carry for themselves. Stoic principles guide us to seek self-mastery, and in doing so, we can also inspire those around us to take responsibility for their own lives. You've made it this far because you're committed to living with insight and intention. Drop a comment with "I choose my path" to show that you're embracing this wisdom. Stay connected. More powerful lessons are on the way. The denier. When you encounter the denier, you may feel like you've come up against a force that defies logic and reason. This type of person clings to their alternate version of reality as tightly as a child holds onto their security blanket. Even when life is practically shouting at them that things aren't as they imagine, they refuse to accept the truth. Denying reality is not just an act of self-deception. It's like trying to push down a brick wall with your bare hands. It's frustrating, exhausting, and ultimately futile. The denier refuses to see the truth, no matter how obvious it may be to everyone else. Attempting to help them often feels like trying to teach a fish to fly. It simply won't work. The most frustrating part of dealing with a denier is that they've chosen to live in their own world, and no amount of rational explanation will pull them out of it. Picture this. You have a compass that always points north, but the denier insists that south is the new north. You, being the supportive friend, try to gently guide them back to reality. Yet, as soon as you point toward true north, they look at you like you're speaking in alien language. No, 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 they say, north doesn't exist. There's only a glorious south that everyone should follow. Despite your best efforts, you're left standing there, pointing at reality while they cling to their illusion. Helping someone like this is emotionally draining because, no matter how patient you are, even if you embody the wisdom of the Stoics themselves, you will likely find yourself hitting a wall. The ancient Stoics, known for their ability to remain calm in the face of frustration, might have even thrown in the towel after repeated attempts to open the denier's eyes. So what can you do when you're dealing with a denier? The reality is that they live in a fantasy world where problems disappear with a snap of the fingers, and you, my friend, don't have magical powers. The first step is understanding that there is very little you can do to change their perspective. Trying to shift their worldview is like swimming upstream. You'll tire yourself out while they continue to swim in circles. Sometimes, the best way to help a denier is to step back and let them know that while you care about them, you can't let their denial drain your energy. After all, you have your own life to live, and you can't be responsible for dragging someone out of a reality they refuse to leave. One of the key principles in modern Stoicism is recognizing what is within your control. As much as you may want to, you cannot change anyone. As the Stoics teach us, control over ourselves is all we truly have. If the denier chooses to live in their bubble of fantasy, they are entitled to do so. Your job is to protect your own mental and emotional well-being, to preserve your peace, and to avoid getting caught in their web of denial. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of focusing on our own thoughts and actions when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The strength in this situation comes from acknowledging that their reality isn't yours to fix. If you feel compelled to try one last tactic, sometimes using irony can help them see the absurdity of their stance. You can lightly and playfully highlight the ridiculousness of their viewpoint, almost as if you're turning the situation into a lighthearted game. Sometimes humor can open more doors than direct confrontation. A gentle, sarcastic comment might help them reflect on the irrationality of their belief without you needing to hammer away at the facts. But remember, this isn't a guarantee. It's simply a last-ditch effort to break through their denial, and even then, it may not work. When dealing with a denier, you'll often feel like you're battling ghosts, fighting shadows that don't exist except in their mind. To maintain your own mental health and perspective, it's crucial to keep good company. People who acknowledge reality as it is and who support you in your journey toward wisdom and peace. The denier is one of those people you likely shouldn't expend too much energy on helping. Life is too short to spend it trying to convince someone that the sun rises in the east and not in the west. The best approach, through the lens of modern Stoicism, is to let go and let them walk their own path. You don't have to fix everyone, and sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is allow them the freedom to face the consequences of their own denial. You may love and care for this person, but that doesn't mean you should sacrifice your peace in an endless attempt to get them to see the truth. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is an important reminder when facing a denier. Your reaction is within your control, and sometimes the best reaction is stepping back and letting them come to terms with their own reality, even if that means watching them stumble. So when you cross paths with a denier, remember that you don't have to be the hero of their story. The wisdom of Stoic teachings reminds us that true strength lies in knowing when to walk away. You cannot carry the burden of someone else's refusal to accept reality, and you shouldn't let it weigh down your own journey. You have your own life to lead, and you deserve to spend it with people who respect the truth and value your energy. Letting the denier live in their bubble isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-preservation. You can offer wisdom, guidance, and support, but ultimately you must let them choose their own path. Some people will never see the light until they are ready, and that's okay. Your job is not to force them to see, but to ensure that your own path remains clear, purposeful, and grounded in reality. Letting go isn't an act of abandonment, it's an act of self-preservation and clarity. The next time you encounter someone who drains your energy or refuses to grow, take a deep breath, smile, and remember, it's okay to let go. Not everyone is meant to be helped, and that's perfectly fine. If you've made it this far, comment below with "Not all battles are mine." I'm excited to hear your thoughts and experiences. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Chosen One. Turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos, packed with more wisdom for living. Thanks for your support, and see you in the next one.